Return to Glory podcast. Hunter Zarbernicki, Austin Rose, Dakota Free Tag, new members of Carricker's crew on CarrickerChronicles.com. Check them out. Check us out. We're getting famous, boys.
Yeah, that's us.
We finally made it.
That's coming right off the heel of the breaking news that Dylan Raiola is rumored to go to Miami, but that is no longer true as he confirms his commitment to Nebraska by being all in. Dak probably didn't see that part. He still thinks he's going to Miami.
I was going to text earlier and say I saw a tweet saying he's going to Miami, but then I saw Miami reporters tweeting that, so I'm like, okay, probably not true, which ended up being not true. So
no.
It's the portal, baby. It's the portal. It's what we love.
I checked my sources now after what happened with Malachi Coleman.
You were right.
But you were right on that.
Yeah.
In the long run.
There are, I don't know. Twitter's great for purposes of getting news. I guess that's kind of what my Twitter is based off of, is Husker football. But at the same time, you especially now, you just got to be careful, and you got to still take it with a grain of salt and still have the ability to form your own opinions and not just soak up what everybody's telling you.
I don't even know how did those rumors start?
Some national beat reporter, some from the ACC or something like that, said he heard some rumor, and then some Husker people reported on it that quoted it basically. It said they said that, and then it kind of blew up in like 2 hours, and Raiola's like, okay, I got to shut this up. And it's kind of a pain, I'll be honest, but that's the world we live in, guys. That is this crazy social media.
I missed the whole part where he was going to Miami, and I just saw that I'm in, and then I had to backtrack and be like, okay, what's he all like? Why is he posting this? And then I found all the Miami stuff.
I saw no facts or anything about the Miami thing, though. I think someone just straight up tweeted that, like, screw it, I'm just gonna throw some news out there.
I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, the rumor is too, like, that he was visiting his family in Georgia, or he was visiting his family in Georgia, but that he was basically back home reevaluating the portal, and in reality, he was just back watching his brother play in the playoffs. Like, that was it. So
right.
I just think people like the clicks. That's what they're after. It's what social media is always after, which is a big negative when it comes to social media. It sucks. So you just got to be careful is bottom line, especially in today's world where we're at with the transfer portal and NIL and everything that comes with it, which is a large part of what we're going to talk about today, because that's the swirling news of college football, along with the playoffs being announced, which we'll get to. So I want to start off the conversation with the transfer portal by saying and echoing a little bit of what Rule has said about the portal. And he explained that it's a changing world, a new world that we're living in right now. And I think that's true, like very, very true. How I want to talk about the transfer portal is three things. What do we actually know? Like, what are the facts with everything that's going on? What don't we know? Because there's a lot that we just don't know. And then what's the future? What's to be determined with this portal and how this is going to work? And our thoughts on what it could develop into. Here's what we know so far. And I actually was going to figure out all these dates and when it opens and closes, because I'll be honest, as a casual fan too, I guess I don't know if you call it as casual, but as a fan, I don't really know what the dates and what the rules are with a lot of it. I don't think anybody does. I think the media, a lot of them don't either. Mm-hmm. But what we know, we've lost a lot of guys in the portal.
Well, we have a lot of guys in the portal. They could still come back.
Correct.
You're right. One of them did.
In the portal. So here we go. Here's what we know. and we knew this a little bit last week, but I'm throwing coaches in the portal too. But Tony White and Terrence Knighton, Florida State, gone. Evan Cooper was already gone, but he's joining them too. Interesting. Here's what also goes out from the defensive side of the ball. Stephon Thompson, junior linebacker. Jamari Butler, junior edge. Mekhi Bayer, junior linebacker. James Williams, sophomore edge. Brody Tagaloa, sophomore D lineman. Vincent Jackson, freshman D lineman. All guys on the defensive side of the ball. Sincere Safulia, Dwight Boodle, a couple of freshmen. Keona Davis, another D lineman that just announced today in the portal. So there's a lot of defensive guys that are testing the waters, we'll say. That's what we know. We know that's happening. That's a fact. Those are facts. What else do we know about the portal?
We know that it can also be just used as a leveraging tool for more money, and that the intention. I totally I never once thought Emmett Johnson was leaving. I really didn't, unless he was going to get buku bucks to go somewhere else. It felt like a leverage play. Why are you going to leave a school where the last 2 games with a new offensive coordinator, you were probably the highlighted offensive weapon, if not right behind, 1B behind Ja'Cory? It felt, so I think that's another thing. Is a lot of people are entering the portal just to see what your market value is. I mean, it's a smart play. It's like, hey, what could I get out there? Now people know I'm available. Or if you're at home, hey, how much do we need to pay to keep you here?
I mean, there's a big reason why everyone left, because the coach left. Like that's what happens and usually they follow with the guy, with Tony White. I don't know if anyone committed to Florida State yet.
No, none of them committed.
Usually that's what happens, which I'm surprised.
A couple that have narrowed down, but the portal, I actually don't think they're allowed to sign anywhere yet. Don't think that part's even open.
Yeah,
I forgot a big one too. Princewill, Unim Yellen. He's another one that I forgot to say.
He's currently ranked number 1 on the available transfers on 247.
I don't think there's rules anywhere, because all these people are saying, these players have these schools narrowed down like that. You can't talk schools in quotations. Like, these guys are talking. I don't think the NCAA is a living thing anymore. Like, there's no rules anywhere.
Well, Dak, what else do we know about the portal? Don't get into the don't know. You're getting into the don't know.
You can. I honestly don't know. Nothing.
The portal closes December 28th. I know you can play in your bowl game.
Yes.
Even though you're in the portal, you can still play for the team.
So, Dak, let me be clear. I asked you to come prepared for this question, and you didn't have an answer for this.
Well, I was going to say you can only enter it twice, which I think is a rule.
Do you know? You said I think.
I'm 99% sure that's the rule.
So, what other things, I guess, that come with the portal that I guess everybody should know is, yes, Austin, you made a great point that once you enter the portal does not mean you're gone. We talked a couple weeks ago about why coaches leave to maybe pursue a new job when it came along with the Tony White going to Florida State. A lot of the same reasons do apply to players as they are leaving their school of choice. Money is a big one. I will say this. We know that players are entering the portal. Some players, not all of them, but some are entering the portal just to see what their market value is and what other offers they can get. Like that is happening because there aren't any rules, hard rules that the NCAA has for this thing. And with the collectives and NIL blowing up and schools continuing to being able to fund these players, and now let's add another element to it, the revenue sharing with the schools. We know that players want to know how much they're worth. So that's a big part of this portal. And I think you have to be careful, though, of justifying that's what everybody's doing, because that's also not true. Dak, you said players are left follow their coach. I think that's also a very big reason why they go. And that comes with a lot of stuff underneath it. So all these
especially if they got recruited by the coach.
also, yes, a lot of these defensive players leaving are big time Terrence Knighton, Tony White guys that they recruited that are in their pipeline and they had a good relationship with. I don't think that's good for our football program at all until we decide or figure out what direction we're moving with this defense. And we don't know yet. We don't have an answer to that. So I think portal people enter it for a number of reasons. That's the one part that we don't know. Like we don't know the exact reason why players do. Emmett Johnson, that was weird. Like went out there. I don't know what those 2 days are like for him. We don't know what transactions, what phone calls, what's happening in those 2 days when you say I'm going to the portal, or hell, let's even go before that. I've heard that these college athletes are getting so-called agents to help them. I mean, of course, they're going to advise you to go see what you're worth and what you can do. So why would you not see it? But you don't know what those nobody has a clue. Like I would say, even some of the most well-informed college football reporters don't really know all the details of how these players are interacting right now with schools and collectives and how all that works. It's still a big mess that still needs to be sorted out.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It is a big mess. It is what it is. It's kind of entertaining. You never know. I mean, when Davis was announced today, it's like, all right, why not? Sure. Let's see how much of a rebuild we can do on the defensive side. And it isn't because also, Malachi Coleman and Danny Kalen and that one wide receiver, I can't think of his name.
Gabe Urban, Davion Hall. So yeah, you're right. I haven't gone to the other side of the ball yet, but those are the four big guys that
bigger
named guys from Nebraska that have entered the portal. Here's where there's a whole nother side to it is the guys that you get in. And right now, obviously, these are guys entering the portal. Not saying they're gone, but they're entering the portal. The flip side of that is for months to come. And I heard the Husker Online podcast make a great analogy. So I wanted to it makes you think about it differently, but I think it's true. Your recruiting classes are like the draft, the NFL draft, or take any sport. They're like the draft. So you are drafting players, right? Your higher recruits are kind of like higher draft picks. You're going to obviously pay your higher draft picks more NIL money. Your 3 stars, your 2 stars, guys like that, you're going to probably pay them a little less. But then the transfer portal is like free agency. So whatever money then you have left, which right now, when I say what money you have left, there isn't a money cap left. There's not a cap. So right now it's open. This is like free agency where you can just go out and buy players.
It's like baseball.
That's what this is.
What's
going on?
It's going to change once revenue share. Like there's going to be contracts. Once a university is giving you some of their revenue, there's going to be a contract tied to it.
So that gets us to like the last. Oh, one other thing before we get to that piece. The roster size, another thing that we do know, is dropping from. I'm going to mess up on the numbers. 110 to 85. That sound right? Something like that.
No, it's dropping to 105, isn't it?
105. Yeah, maybe
it went from like unlimited to 105 or 145 to 105.
The number I remember hearing is that Nebraska's going to have to cut basically 35 to 40 players. Is what?
Yes.
When I say cut, I mean they can't be on your roster. So the walk-on program is a big thing. I also think Husker fans are justifying, well, these people are leaving because Nebraska knows. No, people that are leaving are not players that we would have cut. They're not. They're
walk-ons.
Hold on, Jack. Let me finish my conversation. Don't interrupt. They're players that would have played valuable minutes coming up. A lot of these guys were not players that if we said to say, hey, we're going to cut 25 to 30 players, chop them off. So I think Husker fans are trying to justify these players leaving. Well, we got to get down to the 85 or the under the limit. I don't necessarily think that's what's happening right now on the defensive side of the ball anyways. Now go.
I was going to ask the walk-ons counting that number.
Correct. Yes, they do.
They do count that? Because it used to be, I thought, now maybe I was wrong. I thought usually walk-ons didn't count as on your roster size.
your roster that you can have on your team. Walk-ons are like, yes, Nebraska has been known to have a large roster because of all the walk-ons that we include.
Okay. So that's
I believe it's the guys that are going to practice and whatnot, right? Like that is your roster.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
We know that's happening. I think there's more to come there. I think this is also the first step to what Austin is saying, and this is the third part of the transfer portal is what's to be determined, and what's to come. This lower roster size is going to lead to a more structured roster across the country where there is a cap coming. I don't know what that cap is. I don't even pretend to know what that number is that they're going to put. And with the revenue sharing impacting all of the payments to the players and then how that combines and works with the collectives and everything there, I think it's going to get sorted out here. You're going to see player contracts coming. You're going to see players being named employees. You're going to see player unions coming. I think all of that is near future college football. Because right now everyone's seeing, I mean, last year a little bit, but this year especially because every school now has some sort of collective and the funds in these collectives have shot up massively. This year it truly is like highest bidder is a very, very good target, a good place for people to look at to go. Like that's kind of what's happening. And Nebraska's benefiting from that, I will say, with some of these players that we've gotten even just from the recruiting class where we've flipped guys from Oklahoma, Alabama, places like that. So it's helping us right now, but there's more rules to come with this portal thing. There really is. And we got to survive this little phase here and benefit from it the most that we can.
So just to clarify, there are currently no roster limits. They bumped from 85 scholarships to 105 total roster limit. So now you can have 105 scholarship players, but that is also your max roster limit.
There you
go. So yes, the contracts are coming. I agree. And then there's also the other aspect of the roster limits. On one, it's going to spread out the talent because now whether the bottom talent really matters at all, who knows?
And we're seeing that already with the college football
playoffs.
I mean, you see it. You see it this year, how talent is more spread out. And I'm sorry, we're probably not going to get that many powerhouse teams back for a while.
Yep. So there's that. And the smaller schools are going to become feeders for bigger schools because when someone's going to have a really good year in an FCS school or a lower tier, mid-American school, they're always going to go to the transfer portal and get poached by a Power 4 school. So that's going to be interesting. So I did have the idea. Here's a thought I had. So half-baked. Each Power 4 or each Division I football school has an associated FCS. It's like a AAA league. Like, this is part of the Nebraska football ecosystem. I don't know how you would do it. But it's like, okay, you have your pro roster, and then you have your FCS roster down there that kind of is your developmental. Because Rule kind of mentioned it during his press conference where he's going to have more of a developmental roster, back end 50, 55 players, and then the 50 players that he's going to get ready for game day. Just lump in another FCS school. Let's,
a G League.
Yeah, the G League.
I kind of like that approach.
I like that idea a lot.
I don't know how you would do it because I was looking at the FCS schools on the map. There's 133 FCS schools, and there's not a ton of like regional. A lot of the FCS schools are Central America.
Yeah, they're mostly North and Central.
Yeah, the Big Sky Conference, Montana, North Dakota.
But look at how MLB does it. Some of them are regionalized, but some of their minor league teams are all over the country. So it's not unheard of. I think, their affiliation and ties would all have to get brought in there, but I like that idea. I really do.
No,
and on top of that, there's a whole nother conversation with the NCAA to what Dak mentioned earlier, how, what they're even here for anymore. I think that's a very big topic of conversation that is also going to be had over the next 5 to 10 years is their existence, what they're for. And if they can't hold the Big 12 or the Big 10 in the SEC, which to me, that's going to be kind of the first step, is those two conferences saying, we have the money, we have the resources, we have our own structure. See ya. Like, we're going to be our own governing body and have our own league and championship, and this is going to be the one. That model might actually save some of these smaller schools, because once these big schools leave, the revenue from that they're getting, the revenue sharing is going to help, right? But all this revenue that these schools need to function in their small sports, especially not just football and basketball, they're larger ones, but your tennis, your swimming, your soccers, your like volleyballs, like those. I know volleyball in Nebraska is different, but these smaller sports need money to operate, and this model might actually help save some of them. You can tie them to a power program. I like that. Look at us.
Look at us. Oh, yeah, it was cool. Transfer portal, it wasn't quite as fun as NBA free agency. I always live for the opening day of NBA free agency or the trade deadline. If we could bring the trade deadline, that'd be pretty cool. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit ago. I don't remember what point in the year when we were throwing around trade ideas for who would you trade.
So that's interesting too, because I do think that could come down the road, though. Like once contracts start happening, and I think that's inevitable. I really do. Those kind of conversations are going to happen. So more to come. I just think it's going to become another professional type league, whether you like it or not. That's where we're heading. And whether you thought that or not too, at the beginning of all this NIL conversation, you knew that something like this was probably going to happen. Because where do you stop with the paying the players? Like where do you stop? So something's going to come into play. We just don't know when and how it's going to happen. But I do think caps are going to be implemented probably first, because there's so much money. Like,
yes, there's so much money. It's
so much
insane. I love the fans who have been, when someone enters the portal, we don't want them. If they don't want to be here, and it's just cracks me up.
Let me ask, like, where do you see Rule at in all this? Like, how do you view his ability to navigate everything? I have an interesting thought on this, but I wanted to hear what you guys said first. Like, as a head coach, we know what Dabo thinks, right? Like, Dabo's like, F all of this, keep me the hell away.
I mean, Rule's, he's shown that he's willing to go into the portal and get pieces that he's needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably frustrated with the guys that he's like, hey, let's redshirt you. We're going to develop you. I think you could be really good in a year or two. You're just not there yet. And then they're entering the portal because it's like, you didn't give me the chance to get you to where I thought you needed to be. But, I mean, he's been on the NFL side where this is shifting more towards that sort of format, and he has been the college level. And I think Nebraska has always kind of been strategically placed for NIL, and because we were kind of on that forefront of how we were handling it and what our collective was like. So I do think he's adaptable, and he's talked about in the conferences. He's like, I've been against the portal, but this is college football now. Like, we might have to change a couple of things how we do here, but I'm still going to be a developmental coach first.
Well, what's interesting about him is he was coaching college without all this. When the NFL came back, and now he's got all this NIL. So I feel like it's taken a little bit for him to get used to it. Like, I feel like it's a lot more work for coaches than when he was in college before this.
He's probably less hands-on as far as the actual football goes.
Yeah,
like
you see a lot of coaches right now saying, "I don't want nothing to do." I listened to Urban Meyer today. He said, "I want absolutely nothing to do with college right now because it's like it's all year round now. There's no stopping."
Yep.
So I think
it's hard. It's a hard job right now to have.
Almost like I don't think. Yeah, and you got to please all these 17, 18-year-olds, like, or else they're gone. They're like, "Screw you, I'm out." Like, I don't know. You just got to. I feel like you almost have to pick and choose who you want to, like. Oh, how do I explain it?
I mean, that's why they had like Andrew Luck's like the general manager at Stanford.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally all he's going to do is this. It's going to be money management, basically.
they are hiring people
Yes.
just to take care of all of the stuff with
Mhm.
NIL transfer portal. Sadly I got an email from Oklahoma University from when I bought tickets from them for the game years ago, and I read their announcement on the person they hired and his role and what they're doing within the collective that they have. Dak, did you get that email?
Nope. I sadly
Yeah,
don't even know the person. Can't
Yeah,
tell you
you're not a true fan. So here's my
News
thought
to
on
me.
the rule. Rule is a good communicator, or at least we think he is. He spoke very well to the media. He knows how to sell himself, his program. I think that pays off big time in recruiting. I think by being adaptable, and I think he does a good job of that. Like you said, Austin, he realizes that this is what I want to do with development, but I have to use a portal. Like, I think that is a solid approach. Fred Hoiberg, almost all portal. Okay, he has been a long time. He still can develop, but he's a portal guy, right? You can tell the last few years he's trying to get veteran players from wherever in the country, juniors and seniors, to come in and play for him. I mentioned Dabo, but there are coaches that are taking the opposite approach. And
I mean,
I'm even going to say it. I don't.
Mike Gundy, did you see that? They
Yes,
basically were
Gundy's like
take less money or you're out.
So Gundy's like that. I will say Dana Holgerson. I think there's a part of him that's why he wants to be an offensive coordinator. He wants to coach football. He doesn't want to have to deal with all this extra stuff. So I think Rule is a good person, as long as, and this is a big if, and this goes without saying, but as long as you're winning games and you're building in the right direction. The second that a talker, and Rule's a talker, Rule's a communicator, Rule's a persuader. He's a very good persuader. Second, that you don't start seeing results with that kind of personality, you start to think one word, and that's fraud.
Everything is BS.
That word is very much on the tip of everybody's tongue right now with how this season ended. He's obviously not getting fired. But all this talk and all this stuff that we have been persuaded into believing with him, if you don't start seeing results, it doesn't mean jack crap. It doesn't. And that's what it's going to be like for recruits too. Like, we had the number 20 recruiting class. That's one of the higher ones we've had in years for recruiting, for transfer portal guys. You can sell them on what you want, but the second that they're not seeing results, they start to go, well, this guy's full of shit, and they're leaving. We didn't have many guys leave last year. Rule touted how proud he was of, we don't have guys entering the portal because they believe in the vision, the long-term, but yada. This year's a different story. It's also another year, so it's a new environment. But that's the opinion right now where I'm at with Rule is, like, you're everybody wants to say it. It's there. You better start winning quick and figure this out, or you're not going to look like you know what you're doing. And everything you said, and this Tony White thing doesn't help at all either, because that was our best coach, our best unit, our best coordinator, all of that, and all these guys followed him. So you better figure it out fast. And you can sell everybody what you want. People are going to stop believing quick if you don't.
I mean, let's be honest here. The rosters nowadays are not as much on the coach as it is on your NIL. Like, I feel like it's way more on them to build your roster than it is almost the coach anymore. How much money you can throw out. I don't think
yes and no, Dak, but that hurts Nebraska's case. You would say we have one of the strongest NIL funds and programs, right? So that even makes it worse if you're not winning, because now you're saying we aren't even paying the right people to come here. I mean, that makes your coaching look worse. That's see, I disagree. I think the programs that are going to succeed well in this new era are going to be the ones that are able to develop high school kids. It's the ones, just like the NFL. The NFL, the programs that hit on the draft and are able to take those young players and develop them are the ones that usually end up succeeding very, very well. Now, there's exceptions to that, right, in all professional sports, but I think you have to think of it like a draft. Like you are hitting on young kids that you're going to develop.
I agree. But the time that you have to develop them, I mean, you already get what, max 5 years? Max.
Well, you get 8 or 9 now, but
Well, no, COVID year's over. We're back to 5. We've
Yep.
cleansed that. I think we're done with that. So I mean, if you're not getting them out, if you're not getting them on the field in year 2,
they're gone.
there's a good chance they're gone. Yeah.
And this goes back to the persuasion and the buy-in of what you're trying to build as a program, right?
Oh.
And with someone like Rule, who I would say is living in the middle with it all, with the portal and the recruiting and development piece, like you have to be tremendous at selling to these players why their value. And a lot of these young guys, like Kai Wallen, is a perfect example that just announced. He had so much potential. And yes, there's all the stuff with our defense and the coordinators and coaches leaving, but like this is your development guy. Like you got to keep a guy like this around. If you win and you're showing results, that persuasion is a lot easier. But if you're not, you're right. Like they're going to say, well, I'm not here. Okay, maybe best case scenario, I get developed and I'm starting my junior year. But for a 6-6 team, well, that's no fun. Jeff Sims made the playoffs this year. He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He did.
Chins also made the playoffs.
So did Chinsey.
Pride of Nebraska.
I couldn't even think about that, but Sims, God damn it.
It's one of those things, though. You watch these players that go to other places, and yeah, they have decent careers, and because they're good players, they're solid players. Not Jeff Sims, but like some of these other transfers that go other places, it's how it goes. And so you have to be very strategic in how you keep guys here, and then on top of that, identifying the players that you can pull in, and that side's still to be determined to come here in the next several weeks, couple of months here with the transfer portal. Like, what guys are we getting? Isaiah Nair, Jamal Banks were the 2 big receiver targets. Mm-hmm. What did they pan out for this year? I mean, what do you think? Average at best? Like, they were good.
Under, I would
say average.
Yeah, less than what I expect them to do.
I mean, that's just that right there. You so to the point of the media and everybody getting all hyped up and jacked up about recruiting and the stars and the portal and the top ranked transfer. I don't care. Like I guess that's why I've never been a big hype man over recruiting in the past too. I need to like see them do something and produce and develop in your program before I get excited about it. Other media outlets and fans are not like that because I need something to have excitement about in the offseason. It's just hard for me to look at this and go, okay, great. And in the same way, when guys leave, I'm also kind of like, all right, like, what does this mean? I don't know. I think could be what it means, but I'm like, let's see what happens. And right now, the results that we're seeing with the rule has not been good to end the year. So we have time to tell on what kind of play. I mean, I hear all this hype on this Cortez Mills we got, this receiver, like how he's going to be basically hand in hand with Ja'Cory Barney. I'm like, okay, great. Like, we'll find out next August. We're going to get hyped up in the spring about it, but that's what we do here at Nebraska. That's what we do.
That's what you're supposed to do as a fan, though, Hunter. Let's not act like you're supposed to go you're sad. Yes, it is. You're not supposed to. Now, I will say we're a little hyperbolic. You know, we think we always have the next Christian McCaffrey on our roster, but
yeah, hyperbolic. That's a good way of putting it. Like, I agree. It's not fun being a fan if you're
not excited about anyone on your team.
I should say pessimistic. I wouldn't say I'm pessimistic in the offseason. I just don't get hyperbolic. I don't get optimistic. I go, oh, we got this 4-star. Sweet.
I'm excited to see how they play. I'm not going to say that they're going to knock the world on their ass, you know.
Whereas some fans will say, oh, we got this 4-star. Hey, look at this video. Look at this video. Hey, look at this guy's going to be the next Jamar Chase, like people go down those rabbit holes and it's like, oh my God, like chill out. We haven't seen him play a snap yet. That goes back to Dylan Raiola, like going into the year, exceeded expectations, met, didn't exceed. Like, what did people think? I think everybody was all over the board before they thought he would.
We didn't do our end of year. The end of the year happened so quick. We didn't even get to do our end of year recap. I mean, we just rolled straight into Tony White getting fired, and maybe
it did. It happened quick. Well, we're not.
There's still another big game.
You're right. The year's not over.
Say we haven't hit the end of the year yet.
Oh, what a good transition! Bowl selection happened December 28th. Pinstripe Bowl. You going?
No.
We
have basketball.
Come on, it's Yankee Stadium.
It would be cool.
And I want to have a chance to win.
What's the sponsor? It's like Bad Boys.
The Bad Boy Mowers.
Bad Boys Mowers. That's what it was.
Now, I feel like this is Boston College's like 25th time playing in this game. Every single time, I feel like the Pinstripe Bowl's on there in it.
So I heard something very interesting is when they made the Pinstripe Bowl, I think it was 10 years ago, the Pinstripe Bowl had not an agreement, but basically an unwritten agreement with the Big Ten that said, we want to try to get 10 different Big Ten teams in our bowl in 10 years. And the two teams that were eligible for a bowl this year that have not played in the Pinstripe Bowl were Michigan and Nebraska. And therefore, those are the two candidates to play. I think every other team, obviously we haven't, because we haven't made it one since then, but every other team has kind of had their chance. So that is another reason I think why we got selected. Like some people are talking about the cold weather and warm versus warm weather. I don't care. Like New York City, kind of cool, kind of fun. Baseball stadium, kind of fun. Boston College, I think
it's fun.
A fun opponent to play, right? It's another power conference opponent. That also is, again, we talk about this portal thing, NIL thing, like it's only impacting Nebraska. It's impacting everyone. Their better quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, who's a big-time running threat. He entered the portal earlier today. So everyone's going through this stuff too. We're not really going to know who's going to play in this game until we get a lot closer to it. Right now, if you want to try to piece together our defense, I mean, I guess you could try, but we'll do that. We'll do that in our pregame episode next week.
There'll be a lot of seniors, and
like we'll see. I think that's the fun part about it. But I think it's a good opportunity to play against a team that we're favored. Like we're favored by 3.5 for whatever that means. And Bill O'Brien, their head coach, who came from Alabama's OC, took the job last year, was also a candidate, a name thrown around before we hired Rule that we talked about quite a bit that we liked in favor of.
Yeah, we liked.
So you have that element there too. I'm excited for it. It's an 11 a.m. game. Not thrilled about the time, but
it'll be nice. It's the Saturday after Christmas.
At least it's Saturday. You can play 11 a.m. on a Thursday like Oklahoma is.
You play on a Friday.
Yeah.
What?
You play on a Friday.
Right. You can play 11 a.m.
You need to stop talking about Oklahoma because you're not a fan. You got showed up at a bar by a 32-year-old woman on Saturday night.
Yeah, she knew more Oklahoma players than I did. We'll just say that.
I'm not more Oklahoma players. Don't even leave it at that. More about everything Oklahoma than you did. And it wasn't even close. It was like 10 times as much as you did. You need to stop with this Oklahoma and throw all this stuff away because you're not a fan. Like, just get rid of it. You don't even know when they play.
Friday, 11 a.m., December 27th.
Nailed it. I don't know. The Saturday noon slot, that'll be nice. It's Saturday after Christmas. You're kind of tired of hanging out with your family. It's like, all right, like, here's 3 hours where we don't have to talk to each other. We could just watch this game.
Yeah, it'll be intriguing. Like, I think it's a good bowl game to play in for getting back to a bowl game for the first time in 8 years.
Who's gonna have more fans? Because Boston's a hell of a lot closer to Nebraska, but I don't think they're a very very well traveling fan base.
We will. Nebraska will travel hard to that bowl game. I guarantee it.
They're already selling travel packages. I don't know if you got that email for
Yep.
Nebraska alumni. Yeah.
Next topic of conversation that kind of transitions into or off the bowl game is the playoffs in the selection and I guess overall thoughts with how the committee made their picks, their matchups. We don't need to go through the bracket. I think people have seen it and know what's going on. Here's my very first general thought, and we've mentioned this stuff before. I'm so excited for the playoffs and the home games and the 12th team. I think it's so good for college football, especially this year. And you could even argue this year a larger playoff was necessary or would have been even more fun because truly I do think there are 16 to 18 teams in college football that could win it this year. Not all directly even, but they all could win it. And that's what makes it fun is like we saw conference championship weekend. There was no spread over 5 for all the conference championships. We haven't had a year like this in a long time. So it makes every game intriguing. And there were still blowouts in the conference championship. So that's where we're at in college football. It's great. It's great for the sport. I know people were complaining about how the committee came up with their criteria and their selection. And I will say I disagree with putting SMU in over Alabama, but I'm not like
you're not throwing a fit.
Not torn up about it. Like I understand. I actually thought they put Alabama in since the NCAA wants to keep the SEC happy, and they didn't. I know most people didn't want that to happen. They wanted SMU in because they are just tired of Alabama. So Alabama was one of the first teams left out, and then Miami got left out at 13, Ole Miss at 14, South Carolina 15. Those are kind of the teams right around there. But I guess overall thoughts on the playoffs from your guys' perspective as we get closer to the first round.
Jack, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think. Well, first off top, I think the committee got it right with the SMU because if you would have put Alabama in, I think you'd have teams opting out of conference style games. Like, screw that. We're not gonna play. Like SMU had to play an extra game, and they kept it close, which I think they had to keep it 10 or less to get put in like that. And by keeping it within 3, I think made a better choice for SMU because they had. I can't think. They had 2 losses, right? SMU did.
Now 2, yeah. We're 11-1.
And one of them was an extra game. So I think if you put Alabama in, teams would completely just opt out of conference style games. Like, we're not doing that. So I think up top of that. Next thing is, it'll be sweet to see all these home games, like you said, like Indiana going to Notre Dame when it's like 10 degrees outside. It's going to be awesome. Clemson going down to Texas, killing them. That's going to be awesome. I think all the matchups are set up pretty well too. Like there's not any matchup in the first round I think it's gonna be a complete blowout. Maybe the does SMU play Penn State?
Mm-hmm.
That could get like I'm not saying SMU is better than Alabama. I'm not saying that.
Yes, so that's where the argument comes in.
I'm not saying that.
Is who's better, and to me, what game would I rather watch? Would I rather watch Alabama going to Penn State or SMU going to Penn State?
Then, if your argument's what would I rather watch, the regular season has to matter. Like, I mean,
yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
If Alabama went 8-4, people would still be like, I'd rather watch Alabama play Penn State than SMU. 100% factual. Like,
and people are saying because of the SEC is a gauntlet and yada yada yada. Like,
but
that's why it's
lost.
one hair half a dozen other. Like it is what it is with how they decide it. What I'm most upset about, not upset, but puzzled by is how they kept it Clemson at the 12 and SMU at the 11.
11 after Clemson beat SMU.
Yeah, I don't get that.
That's the part.
3 losses.
But I think that was matchup based. I think they wanted Texas to play Clemson and SMU to play Pat. I think that's why that happened. I just was confused by how they decided that.
I don't know. Yeah, boo freaking who, Alabama. Cry me a river. You didn't get the benefit of the doubt 1 seed higher. Like, their AD's throwing a fit. We're going to have to look at our schedule. It's like, you lost to unranked Oklahoma. You lost to unranked Vanderbilt. That's your fault. Like, it wasn't your schedule's fault that you lost.
And I agree. Like Alabama fans, like don't get blown out by Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma was not a good
Right.
football team this year.
And then have Mercer 2 weeks from the last, like let's not act like you've historically scheduled tough non-con opponents at home or, on the road. Outside of Texas, it was like there were like 6 like true road environment games against ranked opponents or something.
What I do think, which they're probably going to fix by next year, is the seeding part. Because
Boise has a 4 seed or 3
getting
seed.
the 1 seed almost sucks because now you're
Yeah,
Oregon, you got to play Ohio State or Tennessee,
I agree.
and then I can't think what seed it is.
See,
There's some,
I don't. That argument people are throwing out there, I don't see it. I don't agree. Like, I don't know. Like 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10. They're all, especially this year in college football, they're all the same. Everybody's the same, and reward the conference champions. And I don't think anybody saw Boise State being the 3 seed, and definitely didn't see Arizona State being the 4 seed. I get that people didn't see that, but I think people in their mind are saying, well, Boise State and Arizona State aren't that good. I'm like, so what? They won their conference title. Like
Arizona State looks pretty good.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I do. And then they won their conference title. So whether he saw that coming into the year or not, just because they're not a traditional team that we see in these spots, and people are saying, well, if it would have been the 4 team, this is what it would have been. And then obviously those teams are not getting in.
Right. Boise State is not in if it is a 4 team.
But you won your conference championship. I think that should be rewarded, and it makes these first round matchups, I think, a hell of a lot more fun too. And yeah, an 8 seed or a 7 seed might beat a 2 seed, maybe not this year in a matchup, but a 6 seed might be favored against a 3 seed. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
This year it will be. Penn State against Boise State will be favored. Like if you look at the bracket, you're happy if you're Penn State, you're upset if you're Oregon, and you're probably happy if you're Georgia. Those are probably the 3 teams that you feel.
So, yeah, and everybody was arguing about the Oregon thing. I'm like, okay, well, who do you want to play? Like,
no, I agree. It just sucks if you're Oregon. It's like I went undefeated, just have to play Ohio State again or Tennessee in the second and after my bye.
I guess if you're that good, you're gonna have to go through them either way.
And I don't even say nobody's that good. Like Oregon, I guess, yeah, went undefeated. They're the 1 team, but
Georgia almost lost 8 overtimes to Georgia Tech last week of the year.
Yes, it just is what it is. Like
the quarterback's out for the year.
Who can string together? Who can string together 3 or 4 games?
And then yeah. Screw Alabama fans. And then they're bitching. It's like, oh, you mean last year when Florida State got left out because their starting quarterback got hurt but went undefeated and won their conference? Oh no, poor you. Pound sand.
Yeah, it kind of came back on them this year. Like,
yeah,
they're playing the extra. I don't know. I'd love the home game. I wish the second round was home games too. Still, I hate that because I would love to see Boise play home game or Arizona State play home game. Like,
yeah, but then you're losing some of these cool game venues
Yeah.
too. I think
you would just move them. You would just move them. I think what really sucks is if you're Tennessee, you lose to Ohio State, and you're Clemson, lose to Texas, you don't get a bowl game. Like there isn't a neutral site game.
Kind of. Yeah,
You lose on the road.
I guess I would take the playoffs.
I agree, but I don't know. I guess I don't know how the revenue works for that. I don't know.
Good point. Yeah, I don't know.
Because are you going to limit fans? Like if it was a Nebraska game, are you still only going to have the 1 fan section and like everything else is going to be red? Then now the money's becoming more of it. There becomes hey, I want the revenue share from this game, and
I'm sure that was talked about before. I guess we just don't know the details behind it, like what is going on behind the scenes there. But I'm excited for the playoffs overall. It's going to be fun. Again, perfect year for it where there has not been any dominant teams. There's not a heavy favorite. I think anybody has a chance to win it. It makes it exciting. It makes all the games exciting to watch. Like I said, this year would have been a fun one to even open it up more because I do think that Ole Miss, Alabama,
Miami,
those teams all could potentially win it too. They're good enough to. But most years, I think 12 is a good number for the teams that have a chance to win it.
There's
But
always going to be a 13 seed. There will
Yeah.
always be a 13 seed.
I will say this, given the NIL talk that we just had in transfer portal and things continue to be spread out, maybe this is the new normal too, and we are just constantly going to see everything be leveled out as much as it can be in college football, which I think helps someone like Nebraska, like I think it does, to have a one-off year, make a run and make the playoffs. Like I think that helps spreading out. Because you are now make it tougher because week in and week out you're playing a good team, so you got to find a way to win close games. But
I think everybody said that it would kill the regular season. I think was dead wrong because it gives teams a lot more hope. Like you can have one or two losses now and still
Clemson being a 3-loss
season.
team in the championship game, it's like, oh, we're playing for playoffs.
Yeah, that ACC title game would not have mattered last year.
But to keep this in
was
mind,
playing.
a 3-loss ACC title team usually doesn't happen.
True.
Yeah,
Like,
But it probably will
happened.
be more common now. I mean,
It happened. Yes, it happened because the talent in the ACC was very level
spread out.
Last college football topic conversation here. We got to do it. Scott Frost.
hey,
Back to UCF. Once again, Dak reporting and sharing that with me first. Thoughts?
good for him. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully he's in a better spot.
Do you want it to work out?
Never.
Not to the level. I don't want him to be better than us, but I don't need to see him go 12-0. I don't need to see that.
Never
But-
leave what you love.
If he goes 8-4, 9-3, all right.
Do you want it to work out? Do you think it will work out? Those are two questions.
I don't think it's gonna work out. I would like for it to
I
work
guess
out.
when I say work out, I'm going to say while he's there, make a college football playoff type of deal, like we're going 9-3 and making it.
I could see that happening, but I don't think if I were to give it odds, I'd say probably 68.3% that it doesn't work out.
I think there's a good shot it works out. Like he's already proven to do it once, and I think.
And then what happened? He did it once, and then what?
He came here and went off deep end a little bit.
Yeah.
But
So, okay, Dak, tell me why do you think it worked out once, and why do you think it can work out again, but it couldn't work at Nebraska? Tell me why.
he came here, and I think
Buddies.
I think he was ahead of him. Like his head got a little bit too big
complex.
here. Yeah, I don't think he was that focused here on the actual football part.
I think he's a good offensive mind, and that can work in the Big 12.
Yeah,
Why now though will it work for him back in Florida?
I didn't think it would. Dak?
Yeah.
Great offensive mind, Big 12, like you said. I think, and I also think the NIL era, which I guess he had a little bit here in Nebraska. I think it's better that he took off that 3 years and refocused on football in his life, basically. I still think he's a good coach. I just don't think that his head was in the right space here in Nebraska. Like,
He's got the McVay coaching tree aspect now,
Why-
know?
Why wasn't his head in the right place in Nebraska?
I don't know. He was not. He was. I mean,
There's just a level of God complex when you come. You're the savior. You're the returning home. All of your buddies are here. I could see how that could
it
impact.
seemed like his head got a little bit too big. Like I said, and just didn't. He thought there was no way he ever could get fired.
And tell me what causes that.
The fans. Like he definitely thought no shot I'll ever get fired from this school. So until the end, where
You got brought in as the quote unquote savior, and I agree, you got to him. Guys,
Yeah.
I've been saying it. The big common denominator is this fan base. And I'm not saying I don't know how to fix it or what the solution is, but he said it, the pressure. I want him to go win at UCF and just say, yep, like,
I messed up.
no, I'm a good coach, and he will throw. I've heard through the grapevine that he is just dogging on Nebraska and everything about the administration and the program and everything. I hope it works so that we can identify. Everybody can go, why in the hell could he not do it? Well, guess what, people? It's because of the fans. It's because of the unrealistic talking, hyping, expectations, everything that goes with it. That just puts a guy like that on a pedestal, and it now becomes about something other than putting your head down and working your ass off, figuring out how to win games. Rule's the talker. I wish some of our coaches would put their head down, shut up, and just work. I think Dana's doing that. I think Dana's saying this is funny, like whatever, I'm going to work. I hope it works out at UCF. I'm rooting for it because I think it would identify that there's a bigger problem here than what people want to admit. And that is the entire realm of Husker football, this thing that we've created as fans. And it's putting this extra layer of cloud over everything. Again,
it didn't end at Nebraska because we all wanted it to work.
Correct.
We all like he left because of performance, and it wasn't like ill will, like, but it's just like you didn't get it done. We wanted this to work. Really, we wanted it so badly, and
he knows he was defeated.
Yep.
When he left, you could tell in the press conferences, and then in year 4, he did what we're doing now. I mean, if you want to say it, like you can just see the stage we're at with Matt Rule. If you want to compare it to the Scott Frost, Mike Riley, like we are in the all right. Matt Rule, you tried what you wanted to do for 2 years, failed. Let's bring in some people. I'm not saying I think the Frost one was forced by administration. This one, I think maybe was a little more Rule from what I can tell.
Which is good.
And basically said, all right, now let's revamp the offense and let's bring in a whole new coaching staff. This one a little bit not by choice with Tony White leaving. You can see where we're at. The whole Scott Frost thing, it's hard. Like, I think Husker fans are going to naturally not root for him, right? They're going to say, you suck because you failed. And
you don't want to see your ex-girlfriend with a hotter guy. Like, that's just not what you want.
That's a great analogy. It is a great analogy. And all of a sudden UCF in 2 years is playing in the college football playoff. And here we are at 6-6 or 5-7, missing a bowl game and hiring a new coach. Like, we don't want that to happen. But I think the big picture is, okay, Scott Frost made it work there. Couldn't get it done here, and then made it work there again. Why? Like, why? Why is that even possible? Well, we said at UCF when we were talking about Scott Frost when he's at Nebraska, you don't have a billion publishers writing about you. Your recruiting is very free and open. You have the ability. Frost can go golfing at random Orlando golf courses and not get called out and judged for drinking and boozing. He can do his own thing. He's not in the spotlight when he's at UCF. He can just coach. But when he's here, we made him the next golden child. And again, we made him into that. The media and fans made him into the golden child. I'm not saying that was wrong, but we did. We made it like he is the savior, and it took away from what potentially he knows is how to coach football in an offense. And our offense was very bad under Scott Frost, just like it is now.
Another reason why it might not go the same is UCF is Big 12 now. Well, he wasn't there when they were in the Big 12. So that is different.
That will make it even more telling, though, if he is able to win.
Now,
more telling.
I wasn't on the podcast when Frost is here, and it sounds like you guys were hopped off the train quicker than a lot of other. When it was going bad, Husker fans would never admit it. Like,
so same thing is happening right now with Rule, Dak. I think everybody eventually got to a point where they were done with Frost and wanted to move on. I would say that I was probably on the leading edge of that or towards the front. Austin probably fell a little more in the middle. And there are some people that hung on till the very end until the
Georgia Southern
kick, or Georgia Southern even, and said, okay, it's done. I think that's a very true statement. I'll say it with Rule. I'm not there, but I'm pretty damn close. As far as wasting time with 1, 2, 3 years under this regime with Matt Rule. I'm not there yet. And I probably won't. There's nothing that could happen, I think, between now. Well, yeah, there is one thing.
Losing Dylan Raiola. Yeah,
that's
losing
the one thing
Raiola.
that could happen between now and the start of next season that would take me off of it. But as long as he's here, I think I'm still there. But early next year, and as we start the year, that's going to be very telling. And I think there's probably a handful of fans that are with me. But I'm telling you, from now until the first game next year, regardless of the bowl game outcome, the hype and the juice and all of that's going to come. And Rule is going to do a tremendous job of convincing fans that we are going to be good next year. That's what he should do, right? That's his job. That's what he should do. But just don't get blinded by it. Don't get sucked in until you start seeing results. That's my caution, because we saw what happened this year again when I was guilty of it, even though I said I wasn't going to do it.
Mid-season, you said 10
I know.
wins.
I know.
Wow. That was the bar.
So it happened. We were also 5-0 at that point. Yeah. Come to find out, those teams weren't very good. And
Colorado, they turned out pretty good.
That was one, but so
at what point though, and it would suck to admit, would you admit maybe this is what Nebraska is?
So to that point, when we talked about this a month ago,
a 6-6 team max.
A month ago, it was one of the big time writers said, last thing for Husker fans to do is just accept mediocrity.
Yeah.
Like that's the last thing for us to do instead of wishing. Unfortunately,
there's no fun in that.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. Unless the only way that could happen for me is if we got like a professional team in Omaha, football team,
and you
or
can just move your passion somewhere else,
and my passion gets shifted. I've tried, and I do follow K-State along,
but it's not near.
But I can't. You can't. I've said that before. Like you can joke and laugh and try to shift your focus and fandom towards something else. There's nothing in the state of Nebraska that you're going to be able to do that with. Like you can try all you want, but the emotions are not going to let you do it. Now, apathy is a different thing that I think everyone's level of care has changed, especially from the more casual fans. That it's not Saturday's not about the game from when you wake up to when you go to bed. I'm still at that phase. Like whether I like to admit that or not, but more and more people that I'm around, they're not there anymore. Like they would rather spend as little time on it because that's how much they care about it anymore, which is sad, but that's where things are headed with Husker football unless things get turned around.
Well, end on a high note. Volleyball, Sweet 16.
Okay. Glad you didn't say that.
Nothing else. I don't have any other football.
No, nope.
I saw the Heisman stuff. No surprises there. I mean, I feel like Hunter's going to win.
Yep.
So, volleyball Sweet 16, 2 sweeps.
Looks good. I think we won that one set against Florida A&M. Was it 25-3?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Played Dayton on Friday night. And then if we win, we play Wisconsin on Sunday.
Most likely Wisconsin.
You're right. Most likely.
You got to beat Texas A&M. Old Trev Albert's coming back home.
Yeah. If we have to play freaking Trev Alberts, Texas A&M, and we lose to them, I'm done. I'm an Aggie fan. That's it. Alberts won. I'm just kidding. And crazy.
I don't want to talk about basketball. So let's not even bring that up.
Yeah, it was rough. You brought it up. The ladies are doing well, though. I mean, outside of the one loss.
That was fun. That was a fun game to watch yesterday against Minnesota. Undefeated Minnesota.
That's all the good Husker news. I mean, did we talk about the recruiting class at all? That was this week, wasn't it? So we got all 20 of the people we wanted. So, I mean, that says something about Rule.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned the 20th. I've just never been a big recruiting hype guy. Like, great, we got
Even
some
if
guys
it
in
should
here.
probably start to be if you're saying that's the draft now. I mean, that's what you're saying is this is more important than the free agency.
Yeah, but what's funny though is I don't get hyped over the draft either. Like until they start getting to the teams and they start playing. Like fantasy football is a prime example. Like the draft is fun, but trust me, in my dynasty leagues that I'm in, I don't get excited over these players because I have missed on a lot of guys that I've drafted 1, 2, and 3 in dynasty football, and they have done nothing. So I'm like, the draft is like, oh, great. Like we got some people. I drafted Trey Lance. Awesome. Guess what? Trey Lance has done jack shit. I drafted J.K. Dobbins. Great. Guess what? J.K. Dobbins has gotten hurt every goddamn year since I had him. Like it's just one of those things that like I don't want to get excited over something that I haven't seen him produce. I got Marvin Harrison this year, #1 overall pick. Solid year. He's got
not great, but he wasn't the lights out guy they thought he was going to be.
So, like, we'll see. Caleb Williams, I got him too. Like, we'll see what happens. It's just something I don't get too excited about until.
I could tell you that one.
Oh, shush.
No, but that's why I like the portal better than recruiting nowadays because you saw these guys play. You most likely know what you're getting. Now you always get a DJU come to your school like Florida State where you think you're getting someone good and then that shipwreck happens.
Jeff Sims.
Jeff, yeah, Jeff Sims. You're gonna be national title, Jeff Sims, right there.
Yeah, could be.
What if he does come in and lead to the title? Like the starting quarterback gets hurt and he leads them to the national championship.
Good for him. No, it didn't work out here, and that was mostly his fault.
Same as Frost. You guys are rooting for Jeff Sims.
We're good people. We want people to succeed. I don't want people to fail unless they work for Colorado.
All right. Well, yeah, we're back to weekly episodes here now too. So we're going to be recording Monday night, Tuesday morning releases from here on out for the rest of season 6. Yeah, check us out on YouTube. You can watch us there ad free, or you can continue to listen to us on the podcast apps where there are a lot of ads. And yeah, find us on characterchronicles.com. Did I say that already?
Yep, at the very beginning.
So we're there now too.
Cool.
Yeah. We'll be back next week. Bowl game preview, Boston College, the Eagles.
I'm excited. I really am excited. GBR.
That'll be fun. Boomer Sooner.
No, I'm not.
Go Big Red.
I'm not
Done,
allowing you to say it anymore. You're done.